Hello, and welcome to Color Cues. This series is the latest collaboration from Homepage News, Springboard Futures, and the Inspired Home Show. I'm Tom Mirabile, president of Springboard Futures and consumer trend forecaster for the International Housewares Association. The mission of Color Cues was to bring to the home and housewares industry relevant updates and actionable inspirations on the evolving role of color in our marketplace. We're excited to launch the series with probably the queen of color, although I'm sure she's been called that many times, Lee Eiseman, or Lee. Thank you so much for joining us. Lee is executive director of the Pantone Color Institute and also director of the Eiseman Center for Color Information and Training. Thanks for joining us, Lee.
My pleasure, Tom.
So I want to get a little bit more personal with you because last time we spoke, we ended the session with an open Q&A. And you may remember it. Some of the questions took a sort of personal direction, and we refer to it now as the Lee Unplugged session, which viewers just love. So if you don't mind, I wanted to sort of lean a little personal. Like, you just moved to Arizona this year, yeah? And maybe just talk about what the move was like. I mean,
well, you know, I moved from the Northwest to the Southwest. That's a big move.
Yeah.
We had lots of gray days in the wintertime, not a lot of sunshine. Not that I disliked the area that I lived in. I loved it. But there comes a time in your life when you're ready for a change and you're ready for something that instills you with that feeling of newness. I've always loved mission architecture. I love the colors of the desert. I mean, the skies are astonishing. And so it's a whole new experience for me. And I decided that I would have to have a home that was just totally different than where I lived before. I took a lot of the things that I've already owned because they have some history, but I've kind of reinvented the color combinations. And I want to tell you that my bedroom is very Perry. I am on that trajectory, and
you're drinking your own Kool-Aid.
I absolutely have, because the essence of the color is, you know, blue traditionally is more tranquilizing and all the things that we think about blue, but you add that ultraviolet undertone and you added some excitement to the color. You added life to it. And so that's what I wanted to do to introduce into my bedroom. The main living room in the house is very much Southwest colors surrounding the fireplace and such, but I have quite a collection of ceramics and some Roseville pottery, glassware.
Oh, that's great.
In the Northwest, and I have reinvented it in the Southwest, some of it with a little more glimmer now because the light really demands that. Mm-hmm. And I am really, really happy with the light that comes in from the outside. The pool area has palm trees, so I feel like I'm living in the tropics. I will just tell you, the foliage is astounding here. I have such an appreciation now of succulents and cacti. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to see that it's still part of the trend realization that people are so discovering those plants. They're so structural, they're architectural, they're really amazing. And so you can bring that into your environment because my windows are open. The living room has no curtains on it, so you see right out into the pool area. As far as the rest of the house is concerned, I've kind of kept some of those Southwest colors on the walls, but I have decorated in a more eclectic kind of a feeling. I have quite a bit of art, and so the art really has found a new home here, and it really found a place to live, and it's just a whole new feeling. And I think that instilling that feeling of change really is a great exercise creatively. I mean, even for me, when I work with color all the time, and I'm always creating, still when you do it in your own home, it takes on a whole different feeling. You know,
I sort of had a picture in my head of like you at the end of a hard day and just put me in a white room, So it's like, you know.
No, not white, because white, you know, can create glare, and that's not a good thing when you're working with color. But I have to say that my office is gray, but because I have to have a neutral background when I'm working with color. But I've added artwork, and artwork is there. I've got 2 Japanese kimonos up on the wall, very high ceilings. And so I'm able to do that. So there's no lack of color, but it's just where I have to work. I need to concentrate on having that grayness around.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to jump back to Periwinkle for a minute because when it was first announced, I called up Michelle Lamb from the Trend Curve and said, so what do you think? I was actually calling her about something completely different. She launched off into how brilliant you were. And she said, do you realize, when Michelle gets excited about something, you want to be there. She's like, do you realize how many colors how many palettes this works in? She said, have you looked at it next to neons? It's amazing. She said, and then if you could take it to mineralized colors, it lives there. She just went off. And so Michelle and I are both pretty picky. So, but I want to say, I'm glad it's in your bedroom. I haven't found the place to put it yet, but you're right. There is definitely I almost want to say sensual aspect to it. It's very romantic. Let's be coy about it. But it's just a beautiful color. So back to your move, what you've obviously done a creative reboot and you've, kept what you love and made it look different. But what in your new environment outside the home is really inspiring you now?
Well, it has to be the colors that I see around me. I mean, the color of the cacti and succulents. I mean, there are plants here that bloom only one day a year. And the colors that emanate on those blooms are astonishing. And of course, when I look up at the sky, in the Northwest, I saw a lot of trees.
Yeah.
So, west of the sky, you saw more of the water. Here, you're seeing more of the sky, and the colors that are painted in that sky are astounding. I marvel at them all the time. So there's so much in nature that surrounds you. And of course, I live in Tucson, but I have been to Sedona. I've visited some other areas here that present another aspect of desert color that I think sometimes people aren't aware of. They think desert, certain color palette, end of story. But it depends where you are in the desert. So I'm not forgetting my past where I've lived before. That encourages me to use some combinations. But in a new environment, it really does open up your thoughts and your creative processes to new possibilities.
I love the fact that you're talking about succulents. There's an amazing succulent botanic garden in Surprise, Arizona, and it's I've visited twice. And you think there's not a lot to see, but wow, it's really impressive. Right after the rain, especially. So, what was the pandemic like for you? Not professionally, really, but personally. What inspired you? What frustrated you? What comforted you? What was that experience? And did it change your attitudes about color at all?
Did it change my attitude about color? That's an interesting question. I think what it changed was my feeling about how important it would become to more people, not just thinking outside myself, but that this was a time that we needed to find comfort in creativity, in being able to have some fun with color, to look around us and see, I'm sequestered here. What can I do to create some change? And it gave me the opportunity to offer that opportunity to others. Here's what you can do. Here's how you can use color. I think what it did for me personally was just open me up more to the potential of how important this would be to the average person and how important my teaching abilities would be to help them get to the point where they would feel more comfortable and less sequestered. I keep using that word. Of course, there was time to get out and walk, but most of us were encouraged to walk outside where we weren't near other people. I mean, it opened up a whole avenue of possibilities of, look around you. Where are you walking? You're walking in the woods. You're walking, in the desert. Where are you walking? What are the colors that you're seeing? Let's infuse our lives with more of what we're seeing around us. So for me, it became a creative opportunity and a teaching opportunity. And I always try to look at the positive side of things and get whatever positivity we can out of it. I think what disappointed me the most was not to have the ability to travel as much as I do.
Yeah.
And I miss that a great deal. You know, a lot of presentations that I do are all online now. I haven't done much in person at all. But then again, the good side is that you're reaching more people that way. So there's always positive definition. And what has happened too, it's helped me to get closer to the people that I have befriended, that are my colleagues, that do what I do in other parts of the world and other, in other parts of the country. Communicating with them more has become even more important. Sharing ideas, because we're not together, we're not talking about it. So in person. So I think there's that portion of it, but I think I've tried to get the positive out of it. For me, color is always about personal creativity and expression. And it's given me more of an opportunity to work with that and work with people on that.
If there's a single color that creates a strong emotional response for you personally, what would that color be?
You know, I can't have that one single color, because if I do, then that really, then it's like saying, which child is your favorite?
Yeah.
And I can't do that. I have to look within each color and think of it in terms of context, how and where it's used. And I love change. So, what might be my favorite color today, periwinkle in the bedroom, maybe I'll decide to do, a different color bedroom in 2 years. I'm not going to keep it forever. So I don't have that one color that speaks to me so strongly, because I've deliberately, as a professional, tried not to do that. The challenge is, how do you make the color work within its context?
Right. Well, I love context. I have it right on my arm. I always say context is everything. So I want to play a little game of word association with you. So let's call it color association. So here's the twist. I'm going to say a word and you respond with the first color that comes to your mind. So for example, I'm very primitive. If I said jealous, you might say green, but that's way too obvious. And I don't need a Pantone number. I just want to hear the first thing that comes into your mind when you hear the word, okay? So, energizing.
Red. No question.
Really? Oh, that's great. Well, now I feel better about my living room. I may not change after all.
But remember, I'm always thinking nuances. It's not just the red, but what kind of red is it? So again, if we do the umbrella thing, I would say red. But if I were saying from the standpoint of energizing, I would take it to the warmer side, more energy.
And in general, in home fashion right now, do you feel like reds are moving cooler or warmer?
I think it's schizophrenic. I'm seeing designers using both ends of the red spectrum. And I think we're at a point where it's getting a little dangerous to say they're getting warmer or cooler, because then a designer will come along and do something that's just the opposite, and it's fantastic.
Right.
So I think we have to be cautious of using going warmer, going cooler, because you're seeing, particularly in the fashion world, you're seeing both extremes.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes right alongside one another. Okay, next word. Cleansing.
Cleansing would have to be white, of course. It is the most cleansing, and it's perceived of as the cleanest of all colors, no question.
Okay. Independent.
Ooh, independent. Purple. Purple is independent to me.
Really?
Particularly a red purple. Red
so we're talking a little bit periwinkle, really, right?
Maybe, but I think it would have to be even stronger than that. Yeah. Even stronger.
Wow. Okay, next one. Because in home and housewares, we're always thinking about this particular thing. So inviting.
Oh, that would have to be in the peachy tones, colors that have a definite warmth attached to them. And when I say peachy tones, there's so many variations of peach. I mean, you can take it all the way into almost terracotta, right. And I don't mean a namby-pamby peach, but a really delicious peach is always inviting, because people do associate it with that nice, sweet, warm fruit, something you're going to offer them. Come into my home. It's nurturing. It's a great color for that.
Okay, that's great. What about Comforting.
Comforting, I think, for most, and for me over the years, even more, it would have to be in the blue family. But it would need to be a blue that's very easy on the eyes, something that, again, because it's so familiar to people, everything from blue jeans to whatever else you might have. Yeah. And I think that is attached to comforting. It's that semblance of, I know I can depend on this.
Okay. The next one is luxurious.
Ooh, well, that has to be a metallic. I mean,
oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Oh, yeah. But even if I say gold, I'm not thinking in terms of just, the usual thing, a very brassy gold. I'm thinking of a gold that has a lot of nuances in it. And luxury would have even a little bit of a greenish tinge to it, something that would have a little bit of a patina, something that has been around for a while. And that's why it has that little bit of green in it. And its worth has built up over the years. So I'm getting very involved. You see,
I love that, though. No, I absolutely love that. The last thing I expected you to say was the two answers so far that have taken me completely by surprise were white and metallic. I mean, I think that's such a great answer because we don't tend to think of metallics as a color, and they're actually very powerful.
Yes.
And their finish as well.
White is definitely a psychological presence, no question of that.
Okay, so Escapist.
Ooh, Escapist. Gee, that's a hard one. I think I'd have to do something in the hotter pinks. Still have some of the suggestion of the mother color family, the reds, but it's different than red. It takes chances. It's not just a usual kind of a red. It's super feminine. I like that part of it. And over the last few years, we've seen why it's become a super feminine color. It's active. It has all of those things going for it. And I think it would allow you to take you to another space when you work.
When you're talking, what I'm hearing is not what we traditionally think of as escapism. Is like just escaping from everything. But I like the spin you're putting on it is really you're talking about something that helps you escape into something else. Like it's Well, that takes me to my last one, which is adventurous.
Oh, adventurous. I think I'd have to go back to the purple family for adventurous.
Okay.
There are so many nuances of purple that sometimes people lose sight of that. There's the blue and there's the red or purple. And I think if you're adventurous, again, you've got to have some of that red infusion in there because that defines adventure. But it would have to be a really, really hot version of that. Couldn't be a cool version. It would have to be hot. That energy has to be instilled in the meaning of that color.
Brilliant. So Lee, I just want to ask you one more question, and that is there anything in particular that you want to tell us about how we should be thinking about color and its use in a time when nothing seems certain? I think that right now, everything seems in flux. From a professional perspective, the shows are in flux. And so we don't know if we're going to get to see some of the new inspirations. And of course, we can come to you and Pantone for that in terms of color. But, it seems like every morning you wake up and you're not exactly sure what the day holds, what next month holds. Is there anything that you want to share in terms of the way we should be thinking about color? Its relationship to product, anything at all?
Well, I generally go to the more personal aspect of it, using it on a personal level. And I think you can take it as a time to become more creative yourself. When we're living in a time that is so fraught with concerns as we know that it's a difficult time. I think it's important to allow yourself to become the child again. To draw the pictures, draw outside the lines, to expand your thinking, to really do things that are, did you ever want to paint pictures? But you were always concerned about what people might say if they saw, the outcome of your art. Now is the time to experiment with that. I think as a creative, whether you're, you don't consider yourself creative, but if you're in anywhere in the field of product development, you've got to be somewhat creative, because that's really what it's all about, creating something for the consumer. Allow your own creativity to come forth. Be that kid again. Take up that hobby that allows you to experiment with color, to have fun with it. And if you say, well, but I'm not an artist, what else can I do? I mean, even things as simple as going into your own closet, pulling stuff out, looking at it and saying, how can I make it new again? How can I refresh it? What can I do to change this look? So it doesn't necessarily have to be just, painting on a piece of paper, or get into the living room and go buy a can of paint and repaint the walls. Do one wall, do a piece of old furniture, do something that's going to allow you to have some fun and release that creative urge that you have. I think that's really a great panacea for the time that we're living in.
That is a perfect answer, and it makes me want to do 10 things as soon as I finish this up. Thank you so much for spending so much time today. And to all of you, thank you for spending time with us and with Color Cues. We'll be back with the rest of the series. Lee, thank you for launching this with us. We're really excited about it.
Yeah,
and
yes.
it's just terrific. Thank you so much.